What is going on, you guys? My name is Rage and we are back today with a free-to-play character guide overview for you all. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 of the best free-to-play characters in the game right now that you should be building and focusing on. These characters right now, you can actually utilize them in early to the mid as well as the late game stages. So I've taken time to review my roster in terms of what's going to add value for you overall. And on top of that, the best thing is that all these characters you can actually get right away in the game, even given a couple weeks. So I've purposely excluded the orbs, I've excluded the war store because specifically those two areas do have powerful characters, but in my opinion they're just not as farmable as intended, as there's an RNG factor. And the war store, you do need your alliance to actually be heavily active in order to actually even get credits over time, building up and ultimately unlocking those said characters. So that said, we're gonna limit everything then to the campaign stages, obviously not the later ones. Ideally, I don't want to talk about characters such as Symbiote Spider-Man that's located on the very last node of Doom Chapter 4. I want to focus on characters that are generally pretty friendly to achieve, and as well by building them early and focusing on them earlier, that investment's gonna pay off dividends in the end game. So that being said, you guys, let's dive right in here. Starting things off, we do have Sharon Carter here with the Secret Avenger squad. And the beautiful thing about Sharon Carter is that she's very, very powerful in raids, but as well, she can be utilized in the Dark Dimension nodes. She's powerful in war. You can actually find her in the raid store, the orb fragments, and as well as going through and actually purchasing her directly if you get a chance to do so. So why she's so powerful is because of 2 things. One, her special that actually has an ability block with defense down, synergizes extremely well with the rest of her Secret Avengers. You can see it lasts for also 2 turns, which is really nice. Where she really shines, however, is her basic here. You can see that in raids, if Captain Sam is actually an ally, she's also going to reduce that speed bar by 25%. And by having the ISO 8 striker on her, she essentially operates very similarly to Ghost, where every time she attacks, she also reduces their turn meter, and it really can control an enemy from ensuring they don't have a turn. But last but not least, icing on the cake is her ultimate here, where she strips all the positive effects from the target, and as well applying a stun and a slow, and that's just absolutely icing on the cake with her. A very powerful crowd controlling character, utilized in the end game stages of both Dark Dimension and raids. And the best thing is that she's available in the raid store, and that's a very, very easy to access store. You can generally unlock her if the RNG falls in your factor within a couple weeks. Moving on, we do have Captain Sam here of the Secret Avengers, synergizing with Sharon Carter, as I noted. And with him, he's actually found quite earlier. He's not in the Doom stages too late. You can see Doom Chapter 2-6, so still fairly pretty easy to get to if you have a good team around 200k. But overall, this character, not enough good things can be said about him. Every single one of his abilities is something that you should be noting to T4. You can see even with his basic, he's able to gain deflect, he's able to strip away positive buffs, and if you have him as a skirmisher, it's even better because you really just compound that effect, right? His Stars and Stripes special here, applies deflex to his team, defense up, speed up, as well as energy generation for his fellow Avengers, and as well as the skilled allies. So I mean, across the board, he's getting a lot of benefits. He's a very tanky character, but as well, he hits pretty hard too. So just having defensive and offensive capabilities, ultimate is really the thing to be talking about here. For each enemy remaining, he actually fills up the speed bar for himself and all skilled allies. So keep in mind, this doesn't necessarily have to apply to Secret Avengers. It can be any skilled allies. Anytime you have a character in the game that can impact turn meter, you're going to have a character that's going to have more weight and dividends to shoot for in the long term, just because he's going to be providing that mileage that you can be slotting in different teams. And as well, similar to his counterpart in Sharon Carter, he's also got usage in the Doom 2 raids, absolutely pivotal in the skill nodes, and as well his Dark Dimension usage as well. So for those of you starting out that haven't started Dark Dimension 3, having the Secret Avengers is a really good start, and again, very accessible early in the Doom Chapter 2, so a great character to unlock as soon as possible. Next up, we have one of the most powerful characters in the game, and I can't believe he's actually so easily accessible now, and it's Shang-Chi here. As you can see, similar to Captain Sam, every single one of his abilities is worth T4ing. They all do something else differently, but I'll highlight the attention to both his special and as well as his ultimate. He's on the forefront of being in that Juggernaut Heroes for Hire war defense team, but as well, he has a really strong self-sufficient heal. As you can see, when he's playing with his Heroes for Hire, he clears all the negative conditions from himself, heals himself, and on top of that, he actually fills up his speed bar by 50%, especially on war defense where this is boosted to 75. So essentially using this ability almost grants him a turn right away, so you really want to use that strategically whenever you want to get an edge on the enemy. But for sure, the notable thing about him is his ultimate of Wave of Fury, where he absolutely devastates enemies for damage. As you can see, the more positive effects that are on the actual primary target, he's actually going to be doing more damage. And on top of that, he's going to be reducing the speed bar of all enemies. You can see he also does apply speed up for his Heroes for Hire for 2 turns if they are on the team. This attack cannot be a counterattack, blocked, or dodged, so it's an absolutely powerful ability. He's a juggernaut by himself, and best thing is again, he's become a key piece for me in the skill notes for Doom 2 raids, and that includes the final stage 2.3 as well. A Dark Dimension 5 character, so that means you can likely bring him up from Dark Dimension 3 to Dark Dimension 4. And the best part is available through the Blitz store. So right now, unfortunately, he is only available through luck by opening a boatload of Blitz orbs. But generally what happens is the promotional character does get migrated and transitioned over to the main store. So that way you can purchase him directly afterwards. So, I mean, I was still able to push shards by just doing it randomly. But you guys are just patient and waiting. He's coming to the store eventually. So this is coming up very soon if you guys want to stockpile that. But otherwise, it's just nice that such a powerful top 5, top 10 character in the game is readily available, and for sure a Dark Dimension character must. Next up, we have Cloak here, part of that new Warriors meta team with Deathpool and as well as Dagger, and a very, very powerful character once again. When he came out, just absolutely changed the meta in terms of what they can do, especially with him being part of a raid team as well. So for them, they absolutely dominate my Mystic nodes right now when I'm pushing through it, but for sure, his abilities here, really, he's noted for inflicting a lot of negative conditions, right? So starting off with his special here, you can see he strips all the positive buffs from the primary target. He applies a detrimental slow for 2 turns, defense down, offense down, and again, he also gains an assist from Dagger as well if she's available, right? So just another ability that cripples an enemy, but on top of that, Shadow Assault Ultimate is really where his kit thrives. You know, he attacks all the enemies, applying 3 random negative buffs, and it includes his list of blind, defense down, disruption, offense down, and slow. And this can absolutely cripple a team and buy your entire team lots of time in order to generate, whether it be ability energy, turn meter, so forth. So a very strong character just to help support that role. And for that reason, he's a Doom character must have in raids. He's a Dark Dimension viable character, just given how powerful he is. And keep in mind, his negative conditions can also be spread, right, when you have other characters that can synergize with him. So for that reason, a very strong character, and again, free to play, as well as being early accessible in the game. You can see here, very similar to Sharon Carter, he's also available through the raid store, so either that's in orbs or purchasing him directly. And as well, he's actually available now in the Greek raids here, being the alpha raids when they are available. So that just goes to show you, again, another top character in the game, and it's available to the free-to-play community. Last but not least, you guys, we have a legendary character here being part of this mix, and it's a little different because usually with legendary characters, they are hard to achieve, but Shuri is actually one of the easy and most accessible legendaries in the game, especially now that her events become permanent. So with her, a lot of good things can be said. First of all, she only requires 5 Spider-Verse characters to unlock. So what does that mean? It means literally every character that has web in their name, anybody that's part of that Spider-Man series, symbiotes, as well as the Sinister Six, they're all part of that void to be able to actually get access to her, and you don't need much to actually unlock her. So one of the few legendaries in the game where I don't think a lot of players will have a hard time getting the 7 yellow. On top of that, she's one of the only tech characters in the game right now that actually has defense up and as well as healing. I'm using her right now. She got a lot of reinvigoration and love once those Doom 2 raids came out, and it turns out that there was no supportive character that can actually provide defense up and energy, and Shuri fits that role perfectly here. Her instant upgrade special here, as you can see, applying defense up for 2 turns, generating random ability energy. It better if you have Wakandans, but with them, they're not actually part of the meta. So generally, that's why I did not T4. It just doesn't really benefit us. And lastly, her kimono healing here being the ultimate, healing the most injured ally and as well as percentage of her max health. So it's nice. It's good for her because she actually strips her own negative conditions and clears it because she's Wakandan, but otherwise it's a good heal. She's meant for raids, but on top of that, she's also a Dark Dimension viable character. And again, she's easily accessibly available, so that's why she's part of this list, because for sure, if you bring her up early in the game, she's going to provide usage for campaigns, utilize her in raids, as well as Dark Dimension. So a very powerful character overall. Again, she can use some more love in the future just because her kit's a little bit older, her stats are still a little bit older in terms of not having them up to times. But keep in mind, you guys, there's a new movie coming out for Black Panther 2 this year, so that could be potentially signaling a rework that we may see in the future. So that's always good to be mindful of those upcoming movie drops, right? So there you guys have it. Those are the 5 characters, in my opinion, that right now are the best free-to-play characters in the game that you should start investing in, because even if you're an early player, even if you're a mid-game and late game, I'm telling you right now, I use all these characters right now in the end game. So starting earlier, you guys will be able to get some really good investing in them, and feel free to invest in them without hesitation. Thank you as always, you guys. Do appreciate you checking my videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.